Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. Wednesday night transfer portal update. Okay, so a couple news and notes. So I did a portal update on Tuesday night. Today's Wednesday night, okay? So I did a portal update on Tuesday night. And of course, the second I got off air, what ends up happening? You already know the portal went crazy, okay? So first off, listen, I feel like I have a pretty good pulse of what could happen, what might happen, what will happen, what won't happen. Jeremy Roach going in the portal blew my mind, okay? And that was the moment where I was like, I think I'm just done with the portal. Like that was the one. I put out the tweet. I did the Abe Simpson, threw the hat on the hat rack, and then walked right back out. I was like, I can't do this portal stuff anymore. For people who don't know, we've talked about him plenty on this episode. Jeremy Roach was the starting point guard at Duke, okay? Averaged 14 points, 3.5 assists, 42% three-point shooting. And listen, I know we're supposed to hate all things Duke and this and that. I thought he was awesome. I thought he was steady. And so for him to enter the portal, like what stands out to me, and I don't know this, and I'm not accusing him, and I'm not even saying it's a bad thing if this is the truth, okay? But Jeremy Roach, to me, entering the portal, he's also declared for the draft. This very much feels to me like a kid that is basically like, I need to weigh all my options. And I think bluntly, he's probably got to go to the highest bidder because he's probably not an NBA player. And so, hey, he's got the extra COVID year. If he can make, we know what the numbers are. We saw Jeff Goodman put out that Umar Ballo, the center from Arizona at Indiana, the asking price was $1.3 million. I don't think Jeff puts that out unless he feels pretty confident that's probably relatively accurate. And if that's the going rate, that is freaking insane, okay? And so I just bring it up because with Jeremy Roach, I think, listen, a high-level veteran point guard who has won and won big in the ACC, like, what else could you say other than that dude will be a priority? First of all, I mentioned it a minute ago from the Kentucky, really, really, really good player. I am just a big believer, veteran point guard, knows how to run the show, has done it for 4 years at the Power 5 level. Remember, he was the starting point guard on Coach K's final team, went to the Final Four in New Orleans, Paolo Banchero. What was the big guy? Mark something. Why am I blanking on the kid's name? Mark. I'm going to have to look this up or it's going to drive me crazy. But Jeremy Roach played on that last team with Paolo Banchero and Trevor Keels and Mark from the Charlotte Hornets. Let's see if he's still on the Charlotte Hornets. This is going to drive me so crazy. So I'm going to look it up in real time here. This is going to be terrible audio. Let's take a look here. It was Mark Williams. Our buddy Mark Williams. Wendell Moore Jr. was on that team as well. So Jeremy Roach was the starting point guard on that team. Veteran, experienced, and now, listen, not here to criticize, but I do expect him to take probably the biggest financial opportunity if he comes back to college basketball. So Adam Zagoria put out that he believes that the front runners will be St. John's, Arkansas, and Kentucky. My only thought on that, what do we know about all three of those programs? NIL and finances are not an issue. Mark Pope, day one, a booster wrote a $4 million NIL check for the Kentucky collective. Calipari's got that chicken man money, Tyson Chicken, okay? On top of that, you also have we mentioned St. John's earlier, Rapoli, the vitamin water guy, St. John's biggest booster. Money will not be an issue for St. John's this year. So if those three are the early leaders, it makes a lot of sense that he is looking for the biggest bag. But I'll tell you this, he is right now, I think, right up there with AJ Storr as the best players in the portal right now. You just don't find guys, 4-year, 3-year starter in the ACC who's good enough, who's shown it, shoots 42%. Jeremy Roach on Tuesday night entered the portal. Also late Tuesday, Aiden Mahaney, leading scorer from St. Mary's, entered the portal. This one's a little bit of a sad one, and I got some pretty good information. By the way, as you can see on the ticker, Make sure you are following CBB Transfers on Twitter. Also, we just started an Instagram page, just broke 100 last night thanks to the support of this show. By the way, you want to be one of the first 200 people. That's something you can carry with you for the rest of your life. Be one of the first 200 people. You can take that to the grave. Tell your grandkids about it. CBB Transfers on Twitter and Instagram. Make sure to follow the Instagram page as well. You can be one of the first 200 people to do it. Shout out. You can tell your grandkids, that's me, that's my team, whatever. Aiden Mahaney. So, interesting player. He was St. Mary's leading scorer this year. A little bit of an undersized guard, but a really, really, really talented player. Averaged 13 per game this past year, about 14 actually, 35% from three. But what's interesting about it is those numbers are nearly identical to a year ago. Averaged the same number of points, 40% from three last year. So he actually took a little bit of a step back. And so a couple things about Aidan Mahaney. One, I think, listen, St. Mary's, the reality of it, financially they can't compete. Now it sucks. I get it. St. Mary's, they're a good team, top 25 program, but there's the financial component to it. Beyond that, and this is important, I think it's really tough to sell the style of play that St. Mary's wants to play. Because listen, a lot of people are like, oh, it's one of the best programs, best development. How can you do that? How can you turn your back on them? It's like, I get it. But besides the financial component, it's not fun to play one of the slowest tempos in college basketball and to play for a team that doesn't score the basketball. St. Mary's, I believe, of every NCAA tournament team except for Virginia, played the slowest tempo in college basketball this year. Averaged 74 points per game, whatever. I respect it. But I also think if you're a kid, you want to get up and down. This is an offensive sport right now. Showcase yourself for the NBA. I don't know that Aidan Mahaney is an NBA player, but if you want to showcase yourself, St. Mary's isn't the system to do it. So he averaged 13.9 points per game, 35% shooting from three. And I actually had a chance to talk to his AAU, not really his coach, but the guy who's the founder of his AAU program, West Coast Elite, here in Los Angeles. Ryan Silver, great guy. Talk to him. And producer Matt, pop up that tweet whenever you can. Ryan Silver told me, how about this? He said 150 programs, 150, 1-5, reached out to Ryan Silver of West Coast Elite on Tuesday night after Aidan Mahaney entered the portal. He said every blue blood, his direct quote was every single blue blood had reached out. Duke, Carolina, Kentucky, UConn, a couple other schools that he mentioned that I didn't include in this tweet that you can see right there. Arkansas has reached out. Alabama has reached out. So this kid is going to be very in demand. Don't think this is solely financially driven. I don't know, and I didn't ask Ryan. That's not my business, okay? But I just bring it up for the simple reason that, in my opinion, producer Matt, you could drop that tweet. Thank you for your help there. I appreciate that. In my opinion, I think it's about style of play. This kid is a bucket getter, and I think he wants a bigger style. Now, I'll say this. I think it will be a little bit of a step up. Jacob Petruzzi asked about this from the UConn perspective. I think he'll be good in a Power 5 conference. I don't think he'll be 14 a night next year in a power conference. Now, he has 2 years of eligibility. So he's the kind of kid I could see being a 5th starter, a 4th starter on a really good team next year. And then from there, developing into a 17, 18 a night kind of guy 2 years from now, kind of like an Antonio Reeves maybe this year, Mark Sears. Remember, both those guys, this was their second year at the Power 5 level after transferring up from the mid-majors. Really like Aiden Mahaney and think he is going to be very, very, very coveted. Like I said, if you follow a power conference school, I am here to tell you they almost certainly reached out to Aiden Mahaney. Very quickly, there was one commitment of note, and I'd be remiss if I did not talk about my guy Dan Hurley and the UConn Huskies. So UConn on Thursday after, I'm getting all my days confused, Wednesday afternoon. We usually don't record on Wednesday night, so forgive me. I'm getting all tripped up here. But Tarris Reed Jr. commits to UConn on Wednesday night. And what stands out to me about this commitment, first of all, you want to know what the ultimate flex is on a recruiting visit? It's not NIL. It's not your facility. It's not this. It's not that. You know what Tarris Reed did on his official visit to UConn over the weekend? He went to the national championship parade in Hartford. There is no bigger flex than, hey, come this weekend for a national championship parade. But the one thing I'll say about this kid, first of all, 9.7 boards per game in the Big Ten this year as a sophomore at Michigan. Michigan finished in last place, but the thing that I give him credit for, every time I watch him, he plays really hard. He plays really hard, average about a block and a half per game. And I do think if you're going to play for Dan Hurley, there's no cutting corners. There's no sidestepping things. It is about full speed ahead. Are you ready to compete? I think he gets it. I think he understands it. And based on what I've seen, even in a bad situation, he played really hard. I think there's something to play for that. The other thing, and this is super obvious if you're a UConn fan, but this is important, is he, what I really give him credit for is also he coming in allows UConn to continue to play the way that they have had success over the last 2 years. What has led UConn to back-to-back national championships? It's a lot of things. But one of the things that has allowed them to continue to have success is the fact that they have had that two big man rotation. 2 years ago, it was Adama Sanogo with Donovan Clingan off the bench. This past year, it was Donovan Clingan as the starter with Samson Johnson off the bench. Well, Samson Johnson's coming back next year. Tarris Reed is coming in. Now, Tarris Reed is not Donovan Clingan, and I don't want to claim that he will be. But I've seen a lot of Adama Sanogo comps, and I think that's probably pretty fair. Well, guess what? Adama Sanogo is an NBA player. Played in the NBA this year for the Chicago Bulls. And so I look at this situation. I think this perfectly allows UConn to continue to play that two big system. And then to Jacob's question earlier, I think UConn's still in the mix for a lot of different pieces. It looks like they want one more wing. We'll talk about Liam McNeely, the five-star McDonald's All-American, maybe in a future episode because he is going to visit UConn next week. We will also see if some of the other guys, Kobe Brea, et cetera, get involved.